This week on the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon, technology is doing its thing again. So yes, on the latest episode of The Big Show, we returned after a 2-week hiatus to break down our top 10 films of the 2022 Sundance Film Festival. Plus, it's Black History Month. And as you know, if you listen to this podcast every year, we always spotlight somebody once a week, once a show during the month of February. This week, it is Robert Nesta Marley. Charles Kirkland and I will discuss all of this and a whole lot more on episode 488, Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Let's go. All right, welcome to the latest episode, Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon. That man over there, I think I'm pointing correctly, it's Charles Kirkland Jr. Charles, what's going on, soul brother?
Hey, doing pretty well, Tim. Thanks for having me back.
Wow, I literally, you're the co-host of the show. You're back every time we do the show. You act as if you like a special guest that just shows up every week at the same time.
I like to feel special. Is that a problem?
Yeah, there's been a lot of specialness this week, which we will not talk about.
Actually, talking of special, I got an email from Halle Berry this week.
It's nice to hear. I mean, that's very good. I'm glad that made you feel special. I bet.
She was repping the new Netflix movies for next year.
Ah, very nice. All right, well, Halle does what Halle does. She is, it's award season right now. So we've been saying that, we tell you every year, usually jump starting around, it used to be October, but it's sort of kind of segged into like from November all the way up and through March. We tell you every year that there's a certain group of movies that will be contenders. And it not just contenders for the Academy Awards, but the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice Association, the Black Reel Awards, the Image Awards, the Screen Actors Guild, the Producers Guild, the Directors Guild. There's shows all over the place. So we're in the middle of award season, and it's a lot. let's just say that on our team that are representing the Black Reel Awards, it's a lot. And this week has been a lot. And I'm sure leading up to our show on February the 28th, it will continue, Charles, to be a lot. We'll continue. So that's all I'll say with that, man. But I wanted to lead in before we jumped in with our Sundance update that there's a lot of news being made this week. And most notably, the announcement, Charles, which I'm sure you've seen, about the reboot of The Color Purple and the casting that has gone on all week. Initially, it was Taraji P. Henson. It's going to be stepping into the role of Margaret Avery as Shug Avery from the original film. I think yesterday it was announced that both Fantasia Barrio will be stepping into the role of Celie, which Whoopi Goldberg was nominated for an Academy Award. And also, I also would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge Margaret Avery, who was also nominated for an Academy Award in the original film from 1985 as Shug Avery, which Taraji P. Henson is playing that role. Also yesterday, it was announced that Danielle Deadwyler will be recast as in the role of Sophia, which was Oprah Winfrey's role from the original. So, this is one of those situations, Charles, where a lot of times there's certain films like, you remade it, you didn't have to remake it. I don't see a need to have remade The Color Purple. It's clear that they want to go in more of a musical direction with the story. I'm not throwing shade because I think everybody has the ability to work. And if you can develop a film and get it back out there, it's a good thing. I just don't think, I personally didn't see a call to remake this film. Am I alone in this, or do you have any feelings either way about this?
Okay. It sounds kind of familiar because Spielberg came out last year saying that he wanted to redo West Side Story, and it was a lot of the same thing. Why? And he actually turned out a good product. So, I reserve my judgment. Not my judgment, my opinion. Well, I guess I'll give my opinion. I think it doesn't need to be done. Watch the original. I think it's good enough.
Yeah.
Um, I understand, remaking for a new generation, but sometimes you just need to let the generation see what's there. See the original and appreciate the original for what it was. Netflix has a documentary called "When They Need Us."
When they see us.
Not when they see us.
Oh, they gotta have
us.
Yeah, you were combining when they see us with but go ahead.
Well, they gotta have us. And in that documentary, they talk about how, because we slammed the Oscars for not granting Spielberg an Oscar, anybody from The Color Purple, of the most nominations and no wins. Well, according to this documentary, it's the studio's fault. The studio was the one that did not push for their people to win. I mean, they barely pushed them to get nominated, and obviously there were a lot of nominations, but they didn't push for them to actually win the roles, the awards. And you and I both know how a studio, when they put the pressure on for their people, how things can happen. So it was a studio thing, is what I was told, and from that documentary. But again, I don't see how redoing the movie will do any justice for anyone at any time. I think the original is a classic. It just needs to be left alone.
All right. So additional information courtesy of Wilson Morales' site, blackfilmandtv.com. Coleman Domingo, who I thought was great, who was nominated for a Black Reel Award for Zola last year for Outstanding Supporting Actor, has been cast in the Danny Glover role as Mr. in the film. And then also Halle Bailey, for people who watch Grownish, has been cast as young Nettie. So the cast is coming together. Taraji P. Henson, Coleman Domingo, Fantasia, Danielle Deadwyler. I mean, for this generation, it ought to be their version of The Color Purple, because remember, Charles, the original now has been out for 35 years, 36 years, 37 years, whatever, the 85 to 2022 math. So to be perfectly honest, Walt Disney and their company, they do it all the time. Every 25 years, they space out, and they've gotten really slick about it. So if they had an animated film 25 years ago, we make a live action now. If it was live action back in the day, we animate it today. So it's all about content in the world. It's all about, as Jay-Z once said, it's all about progression. We're always trying to progress. It's ironic to me, as a guy that loves movies as much as I do, and Charles Kirkland knows my insatiable desire to always discover new things to watch. It's always funny to me, Charles, in a very ironic sense, of what people choose to remake, right? So there are films I see all the time. I was on the phone a couple of days ago with Charles, and I was doing one of my favorite things. I was on Turner Classic Movies, because they have an on-demand section where you can go, and sometimes I will see a film and try to catch it and go, oh, I haven't watched that in a while. Oh, that's one that I've never seen. And I was on the phone with Charles, and I was scrolling, and Black Samson was on TCM. Charles, it was like Christmas Day. I was like, oh, watching this now. Black Samson. Yeah, I'm gonna let you watch that one, man. There's certain films that I watch that are made in the 40s. I actually would say the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And sometimes some of them age pretty well. Then there are others that I'll just say, as it relates to Black Samson, you check that one out, man, because Tim Gordon will watch a good bad movie. You know, that's one of the things. Like at some point, you should interview me about my movie taste. I seek out bad movies because I'm like, it can't be that bad. I've seen some bad stuff. And then there's that look that I have when I'm watching LaQuisha. Wow, that was a pretty bad movie, man. So, but having said that, we're going to go all the way back. The Color Purple, big news.
I just want to correct a couple things before you go too far.
Go
you
for
said
it.
Danielle Deadweiler was going to be in it. It's Danielle Brooks, who's
I'm sorry, my apologies. Why am I calling this woman Danielle Deadweiler?
I don't know.
Danielle Brooks. I'm so. Watch this. I am so sorry.
On your mind.
Yeah, you know, and it's so funny because I had a chance to meet her at the Celebration of Black Cinema back in early December. And you know, me, her, and Jennifer Hudson were having a conversation. And I don't know why I keep calling this woman Deadweiler. I've been saying, thank you, Charles, for doing that, man, because that would have been horrible. Like, who the heck is Danielle Deadweiler? It's Danielle Brooks. My apologies, Miss Brooks. Man, I don't know what that was about. But anyway, so yeah, so that was piece of news number one. And I'm trying to figure out if it was anything else that's happening. Oh, this weekend for people in the Powerverse, this is a big weekend because the season finale of season 2 of Power Book 2 Ghost is coming to a head this week. And it's also, for reasons I don't understand why they did this, Charles, on the same night, they have the pilot for Power Book 4 coming out on the same night. I don't understand it. Like, again, none of this stuff is hard from a programmer's point, Charles. You know, we watch Disney, we watch HBO Max, and other studios do this all the time, right? So anytime they got Hawkeye, you know, you're not getting the next show until we're done with Hawkeye. And then once Hawkeye is done, there's usually, you know, that following week or maybe the week after that, we will launch a new show. But I don't understand launching another new show as you're ending the other show, because again, all the excitement is on the launch. Is on the finale, and then we got to go shift from the finale to the beginning of something else. I don't understand it. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. Maybe somebody from Stars is watching. They like, man, Tim, you tripping. We got our own plan. Well, if you got a plan, please share it with the public because it makes no sense to me. So, Charles, again, does that make sense to you, or am I just reaching for stuff to talk about? Because we could have left this alone, but it was irritating me because, like, why would you do that? Like, what was that about?
I think you're just reaching, Tim, because sometimes things blend from one story into the other. So there may be some crossover from the end of one story into the next, and they give it to you right there to keep your anticipation going, not drag it out over a couple weeks where you got to wait for the answer to a question from the end of the last show. So there may be some tie-in in between the two books. So I'm willing to let it go. I don't watch the show anyway, so it's not like I'm going to be brokenhearted over them continuing on with the storyline the way that they're doing. I think people at Stars are pretty smart. They have a plan. They don't have to tell you what their plan is. Sometimes you just got to roll with it. For instance, Ozark dropped 7 episodes, and then they're going to give you, I mean, why not just go ahead and do all 14? Hey, it's up to them. Drop the 7, drop the next 7 somewhere down the line. But, you know, they have the plan. Sometimes we just got to roll with it.
All right. So, okay, that was you know, I disagree, but you know, it's okay. I mean,
I'm standing in for Wilson today. I'm taking the Wilson route.
Is that what you're doing, man?
Yeah,
that's what you're doing. Okay. I was just gonna say I want to mention one more show before I let this segment go and we start talking about Sundance. That I watched an entire series last night on Netflix, and I was flabbergasted and stunned that, you know, I was telling somebody on the phone this morning before we got on the air. I said, I watch a lot of television, right? I watch a lot of movies. So when you hit me with a twist of something I haven't seen before, and then you're able to execute it, I thought it was great. There's a series. If you're watching this podcast and you're listening to this, and we're posting this in a couple of hours, please, if you have some time this weekend, In from the Cold on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
In from the Cold is a story of a housewife from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, who is accompanying her daughter to Madrid for a figure skating, United States figure skating tournament. And, when she goes out to run an errand, the next thing you know, she's kidnapped and accused of being a Soviet spy and an assassin. And I'm going to leave it right there. Charles, wow. We were screaming like kids in my house last night. Ooh, ooh, oh, ooh. No, they didn't. No, bruh. In from the Cold. You're welcome. And you're like, what's he talking about? Because you're going to be like, thank you, Tim. You're welcome. That was really well done and well executed. 8 episodes. Somebody asked me, is you going to have a season 2? Because, my people don't like when we start watching shows. And it does. Like, dude, I don't program. They don't call this a film programmer show. This is the film critic show. So I'm critiquing.
Wow, what a switch of hats all of a sudden. A few minutes ago, you were playing programmer.
Sir, I don't work for Netflix. Sir, I have no programming authority over what happens at Netflix. If you ask me about stuff I control, I have an answer for you. I flip my hat to something else.
But a second ago, you were trying to program stars. So you don't program network.
No. Netflix, a second ago, I didn't try to program stars. I was asking a question on why you would put, if you have two properties in the same universe, why would you have them both have a finale and a debut on the same night? That's a legitimate question. That's not me just being anal. It makes no sense, right? It would be like, for an example, let's just say, hypothetically, I ran an award show, right? And let's say we were able to put something that we were doing with an award show I ran up against something else I program and program them both on the same day. Why would I do that, Charles? Why would I do that? Yeah, I thought there would be silence on that end. So having said that, In from the Cold, The Color Purple, these are things that we're going to be talking about. And then also, in a really sad note, earlier this week, Charles, they arrested 4 folks in a drug ring who were accused of providing I don't know how you said, providing the drugs that killed Michael K. Williams back last August. So I saw that story and went, I take no solace in that, because whatever happens, they can't bring this brother back, man. And he was brilliant. And we're about to talk about him and our Sundance update. So I just wanted to kind of lead in with that, rest in power to Michael K. Williams, a brother who is really, really missed. His final performance is going to come up momentarily as we're about to get into our Sundance update. So let's talk a little bit about Sundance, man. You and I both, I think, Charles, I ended up seeing 24 out of a possible 25 movies. Did you get a chance to see all 25?
I did not get to see all 25. I missed, one movie, 24 out of 25. You did
the same thing. So I tried to add a 25th movie, but I waited too late and the windows were closed. So before we get started, I think we explained this 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure if we did, but for people who weren't here a couple of weeks ago, let's talk about what Sundance's process was this year, right? Since it was all virtual.
Go ahead. I thought you wanted me to do it, but you can go ahead. Go ahead, do it.
No, you can do it. I mean, because it needs to be explained. So I don't care if you do it, I do it. It needs to be explained. So go ahead.
Well, the process is for us as press was that they would giving us 10 premiere showings, meaning that we see them at the time that they debut, and you got a window of time to watch those.
I think it was 5 hours. 5 hours.
5 hour window of time from when you started that movie to when you had to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And you only had 24 hours to watch that premiere showing.
Right.
So then they gave you 10 of those. Then they were allowing you to watch 15 second screenings, what they call second screenings, which was the 2 days after the premiere. They would allow it to be shown at a second screening and gave you 3 days in opportunity to watch those movies that came in second screening. So you get a total of, between the premieres and the second screenings, a total of 25 movies that you get to watch out of their entire slate.
Got you. So, and that's perfect. So what I wanted to do was to pick out, I was going to say in no particular order, because I haven't numbered them, but I do know what my favorite film was. So I'm going to, like, we're going to go back and forth. You know how we always do, like we pass the mic back and forth. So I'm going to lead off with some films that I want to talk about, which I thought were very, very influential. And I also, Charles, see, because again, we also program a film festival. So, let me switch my hat back on, because Charles, like, you trying to program. Now I'm trying to program because I'm looking at shorts at Sundance to find out if there were any that were hot. And there were a couple that even before the festival started, Charles, I had reached out to a lot of the filmmakers. I think we got like half of them back. I think it was 10 or 11 that I liked, and I think we got at least 5 of them back, and I had to probably circle back on the other 6. There was one that I told Charles to watch. Did you get a chance to watch Precious Hair and Beauty, the one I told you about?
No, I did not.
That's great. That was great. I did tell you about Hallelujah. That was another short, which I thought was quirky and a little offbeat. The Panola Project, I'm looking at some of the names. A Wild Patient is taking me there. It's taking me here was a good one, 75,000. Sub 11 Stories was a short about Sha'Carri Richardson and her journey to try to win a gold medal at the Olympics. So all of those were some things. The Panola Project, which was one we got in, about a rural community in Alabama with one woman's drive to try to get everybody vaccinated with COVID-19. That was a really good one too. But let's talk a little bit about the films that I thought were really good. And I'm going to start off. Let me start off with God's Country. All right. God's Country.
Are you going in? I mean, you said
I'm going in inverse order. So I'm going from 10 to 1. Okay. So I'm starting off with God's Country, which was Thandawee Newton, who plays a college professor who lives out someplace very rural, right? Lots of open land, open carry, open land. And she's alone. I guess she was a former police officer who's living alone out in the wild. And there's a couple of people who keep trespassing on her land, Charles, because they want to hunt. So they park their car on her land and then they go off and hunt, much to her chagrin. So she comes out, leaves them a note. She finds the note crumpled up and some animal, some bird they left that was dead. So, now she's upset. She meets them and tells them, hey, stop parking on my land. And of course, there's pushback because they're 2 big guys. She's a woman, so they underestimate her. And the story kind of goes on from there that you can see where this is going, Charles. And I remember being on the phone talking to Charles while I was watching this. I was like, this is not going to end well for anybody. And I was right. The only issue I had with God's Country, the reason why I have it, and I'm talking about it first, is because the filmmaker, and I apologize that I don't have the filmmaker's name because I'm just kind of giving you an overview of what we watched. But
Julian Higgins is the director.
Thank you. Julian Higgins made some choices with this story that Tim Gordon, would not have made, right? I mean, I think the reason why I'm saying, Charles, I wouldn't have made them because it stretched the movie out in a way that if you'd have made some different choices, you could have either given yourself room to add some additional elements to kind of layer the story a little bit. You could have, you understand what I'm saying? You could have done some things that could have changed this movie. And despite the fact that the ending I thought was okay, the ending could have been a lot stronger, because I'm sitting here and I was like, I was looking for more, man. This was a what would Tim Gordon do moment in watching this movie, and I was not on board. And again, this is really funny for me to say, because there are a lot of movies that I feel this way about, but in this case, I really felt that there were some choices that were not properly executed. Like the wrong choices in the screenplay were not there, which is why you got the story you got. But yeah. So that's my 10th film, man. So Charles, you don't have to comment on that because it might be on your list as well. But I'm just saying that was the 10th film for me.
I will quickly comment in that I thought the whole performance, I thought that was well written and well directed, and I think the elements that they put in there were purposeful to create this air of white toxic masculinity that she had to fight through as she got to the end of the movie. So I thought the elements of the film were pretty good. I thought it was layered pretty well to me. It was a muted performance. It wasn't, one of those runaway exciting action films that you may think of, but I thought it was actually a pretty good movie. It ranked higher on my list than 10.
All right, man. So what's on you? What was number 10 for you?
Emily the Criminal. Aubrey Plaza plays a young girl who has a record and is trying to better her life in California, and just things don't seem to work out right. And she runs into this gentleman who is engaging in illicit activities. Basically, they're stealing stuff. And so they get her involved in the stealing, and then it snowballs after that. And so I thought it was actually, I enjoyed seeing Aubrey Plaza outside of the comedy realm that she usually inhabits. And that this film was actually pretty, it had a nice little twist to the end, at the end to it that I enjoyed greatly. Theo Rossi, who we see from, what's the Kevin Hart thing he just did, the True Story.
Oh, true story, yeah.
Is in it as the guy who's leading her down this path, and great to see him doing this movie as well. I really enjoyed Emily the Criminal. Dark, it's a dark comedy, I would say. I don't even know if it would qualify as a comedy. I think it's a dark drama about how hard it is for someone who's had a record in their past to come up out from under that record. And being that I've been in law enforcement, I see this all the time, where sometimes society just makes them double down instead of coming up. So I thought it was a good tale.
All right, so two quick corrections in this explanation or the synopsis you gave. It wasn't necessarily a record. She had debt. So that was number one.
No.
Okay, well, no, but I'm saying the debt was a driver too. That she had the record, but she had huge debt. So, and it was credit card fraud that these guys were engaging in. And, so yes, Charles didn't want to give that. I'm doing spoiler alert. It was credit card fraud. So I agree with you that I thought this was a story that kind of hooked me and got me engaged. And I thought her and Rossi had some wonderful chemistry and played off each other quite well in this story. I'm going to take Charles's Aubrey Plaza piece, and I'm going to go to a film which I thought was really interesting. Emily Thompson in Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. Emily Thompson plays
Emma.
I'm talking about Emily because you said Emily the Criminal. So thank you. Emma Thompson plays either, I'm not sure if she was a retired school teacher or an actual school teacher still, who is, a woman of an advanced age. She's probably in her 60s. And she is not necessarily just searching for companionship, but she is purchasing companionship. And she meets this younger man, Leo Grande, which is really not his real name, but his pimpin' player name. And the two of them have these interactions throughout the film. And as they get closer and closer to one another, not necessarily going where you think it's going to go, but it's a wonderful friendship. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of a film from like maybe the mid to late 70s called Same Time Next Year from Neil Simon, with Alan Alda and Ellen Burstyn would show up at a hotel at a prearranged time once a year. And the films would progress along over the course of like 25 years of how their lives changed. It reminded me in the vein of that. I don't think maybe that's what he was going for, but there are some similarities between Same Time Next Year and Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. So I thought Emma Thompson, I almost started calling her Emily. I thought Emma Thompson, of course, gives us another side that we're not accustomed to seeing her. And she's very comfortable with her body. I'm gonna leave it at that. I thought it was a wonderful kind of 2-hour escapism. It's a perfect, what I call film festival movie, right? I don't know how it will play in a theater or on a streaming service, but when you're at a film festival, that's the sort of movie that I think people kind of gravitate toward, these kind of warm, funny, slightly romantic, feel-good sort of stories. So for me, that would be my 9th choice as we count down in verse. So Charles, any comment on Good Luck to You, Leo Grande?
Well, my comment for that is it was the 25th movie for me. I somehow scheduling, I didn't get a time to actually watch it, so time ran out. It was just a crazy week anyway because I had school and a lot of things, so I didn't get to watch a lot of stuff that I wanted to. Practically no shorts, and somehow scheduling, I just didn't get the chance to see it.
All right, so what's the next one for you, Charles?
The next one for me is a delightful little film that I think that they advertised incorrectly called Marte or Mars One. It's
nice. Okay.
It was a Brazilian film, a family living in a Brazilian city, and Sundance billed it as a story about the change in their lives because a right-wing leader had been elected. And that was not even really part of the story. It was a really good family story about growing up in this city. Of course, they had this right-wing leader that was elected, but that was told in like almost the exposition of the beginning of the story, and then never addressed really as it went on. There is some political machinations that are happening within the people who are in the story, but it has nothing to do with that leader. But I thought it was a wonderful tale told about love, life, growing up, desires, and basically the youngest boy, who's their father wants him to be a soccer player, but he wants to be an astronaut. He wants to go to Mars and colonize Mars. So it's about how he journeys from being this soccer star that his father wants him to be, and letting them know that he really has these other goals in his life that he wants to pursue. And he has an older sister who comes out as bisexual, who wants to help him along the way and mediate in between, but things just get kind of jumbled. But it's a wonderful story, and I have really enjoyed it after watching it. It was one of those things that I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot, and I was pleasantly surprised.
All right, well, you know what? I'm glad you put it on your list. That movie I did not see. I remember you were telling me that you were watching that, and I was like, all right, Charles, you have fun with that one, man. All right, so number 8 for me, Charles, was a documentary that I watched called Descendant. And Descendant told the true story the last slave ship that came to America from Africa in 1860, and that ship was called the Clotilda. And the documentary deals with the descendants of the people who came over on this illegal ship. Now it's illegal from the standpoint, well, it's all morally illegal anyway, but I'm saying it was illegal because the US had outlawed the slave trade and slave ships coming to America in 1807. And allegedly, Charles, the story goes that a bet was made in 1858, 1859, where a guy told another guy, I can still get some slaves over here if I want to. So he put the money up, had a ship commissioned, went to Benin, had a cargo of 110 slaves brought over. And the film focuses on, at the time that they thought was the last surviving member, his family, and one of the few who they actually got on video. Cujo, I'm sorry, I have the book right here because after I watched the movie, I ran to the store and bought this book, which you can see from Zora Neale Hurston, called Barracoon. Cujo Lewis was the name of one of the last the oldest male survivors. I think he died, like I want to say in the mid 1930s, 37, something like that. But we come to find out later on that there were two other people who survived past Cujo. One young lady who lived to 1940, and she indeed was the last living survivor of the last slave ship to ever come from Africa to America in the Middle Passage. So as you can tell, Charles, this is a story of a proud group of people in Alabama who are survivors. And then the family, the descendants of the family who, the guy who made the bet, of course, we couldn't get any of those guys on film. I mean, I think there was one guy from that family that showed up, but a lot of the other descendants on that side will, of course, and the impact that this small community of Africa Town that they built, and how this family that brought them over here have put all of this stuff environmentally harmful into this community. It was very sobering, and as I said, I held up the book. I wanted more of that story, but the film is Descendant. It is executive produced by Questlove, of course, who is in the running for a documentary Oscar now for Summer of Soul and Black Reel Award nominated and everything else. So that would be my 8th film, man. And I'm not sure. I think it got picked up, but one of the streaming services bought that film. So if you haven't had a chance to see that one, Charles, or for our audience, and with some point when it comes out, please check out Descendant. I thought it was a really strong story.
I did not see Descendant. I tried to stay away from documentaries, but then a couple did get into my queue to watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing it on whatever. I know I saw the announcement too that it got picked up somewhere, but I'll see it eventually.
Got you. So what's next for you, man?
My 8th film is an interesting Vietnamese sci-fi film. Now you may say did I say it? Yeah, Vietnamese and sci-fi together. Yeah, somehow it works. It's a movie called Micah, and it's about a young boy who's grieving the loss of his mother. His best friend moves away. His father's relationship is strange. He's an 8-year-old boy, and he's kind of alone. It's a kid's film, and I'd say it was delightful because they introduced this. One day he's watching a meteor shower, and he goes to where one of these meteors lands, and he finds an alien. And he befriends the alien because he's got nobody else, and it's very fast paced, and it's based on a series that was a TV series from Czechoslovakia that was released way back in the 70s. And so it was really engaging, and I thought it was very well done. And I wish I had told you about this. I don't know whether I did or not, but this was one of those things that you really must see. I don't know where it's going to show up again. It may be one of these film festival darlings that we never get a chance to see somewhere. But man, if I could get my hands on this movie, I would really enjoy watching it again. It's called Micah.
Got you. All right, we'll check that out. All right, well, I will take your Micah, and instead of going, because this is easy setup, actually, I'll do it now. After Yang was a film that I will raise you as my in the 7 hole. Colin Farrell, Jodie Turner-Smith, for people who watch Queen and Slim, she played the female lead in that. And I forget the other little girl, but it's a futuristic story about a family who has a robot servant named Yang, who has been with them and helping raise their daughter. And Yang is, like, for lack of a better term, dying. And the film deals with how the impact that it's having, not just on the family, but more specifically on the little girl, right? So you've got Colin Farrell's character as the father is trying to do everything he can to try to get this robot kind of working properly and get it help. Jodie Turner-Smith is playing the mother, who is putting pressure on her husband to alleviate the pain of their young child who's really suffering with Yang, and how that whole thing impacts them all. It's a beautifully shot film. I thought the performances is very not somber or melancholy, but it's very slowly paced. And it's kind of like this film that's very reflective, beautiful to watch, wonderful cinematography. Again, as a festival film, yeah, and again, I'm just being real with you guys at home, because I'm a guy who's been going to film festivals almost 25 years, man. So, and I understand when we use phrases like the festival bubble, it's real. You at the festival, everybody's watching a movie, you come out, everybody's talking about it. And then that movie comes out in theaters or on streaming services months later, and it's wah, 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 wah.
What was I thinking?
But again, in the moment at Sundance, watching this movie collectively, I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty good story. Not sure how it will play. I would love to be wrong. I would love for people to go, Tim is tripping. He don't know what he's talking about. I watched After Yang. After Yang is the bomb. Well, if it is, kudos to you. I liked it. I again just don't have an idea of what this movie, because whoever gets it, Charles, has got to figure out how to market it, how we're gonna put it out there, what's the messaging. But After Yang comes in number 7 on my list, man. What say you?
All right, so I said before that I've only had like 3, not many documentaries. I saw We Need to Talk About Cosby. I saw La Guerra Civil. But the third documentary, and I didn't even know that this was a documentary because they just put it in their features department, was a film called Mia, Mia, M-I-J-A in Spanish. Mm-hmm. It's about a girl named Doris Munoz, who's a music producer, promoter. She promoted this one superstar, and I can't think of the guy's name, is Cusco or something like that, a big Latin superstar. And something happens when they're on tour, and he decides that he wants to go in another direction. So she's got to find a new star to promote, and a new way to, because it's not only about her making a living, she's also trying to get her parents to get their documentation so that they can see her long lost brother, who lives in Mexico, was deported from the United States to Mexico. The parents have never seen him because they don't have green cards, but she was born in the United States, so she has one. So she's visited her brother, but her parents haven't seen her brother in 7 years. So it's also about the journey of trying to get the green cards for her parents, the money that she needs to make in order to finance that endeavor. And then she finds out that this new superstar this new woman that she wants to make a superstar is also in the same position. So It's a story about immigration and the problems that surround the whole process, but it's a it's an excellent film. Again, it's a documentary, so it's the truth element in all of it really is what grabs you. And I enjoyed the movie a lot. Powerful, intense, emotional portrait of immigrants and their children.
All right, so Charles, in the pursuit of time, we got about 14 minutes to go before we got to wrap, and there's no way we're going to be able to get through 6 movies the way we're doing them right now. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what's the best way to go about this.
Well, I have a feeling that as we get further down this list, we're going to have a lot of the same stuff. So,
well, yes and no, but I'm still trying to figure this out, man. So, I'm losing time trying to figure this out because as you were talking, I was trying to figure it out on the fly. Okay, well, let me do this then, because I'm always trying to come up with a solution. Number 6 for me was probably going to be Cha Cha Real Smooth, which is the God, what is her name? Dakota Johnson.
Right.
Yeah, Dakota Johnson film, which is interesting. Don't necessarily need to hit that one really, really hard. You said we need to talk about Cosby would probably be number 5, because despite the fact that it's a 4-hour film, it just made me feel horrible watching that movie. I mean, people love the Janet Jackson doc that happened over the weekend, which was also 4 hours. This Cosby doc, the first 2 episodes really talk about all the positive things that Dr. Cosby did, as it relates to the educational aspect, him breaking barriers, etc. And in those first 2 episodes, we see that the apex predator, serial rapist, is doing stuff and jokes about Spanish Fly and later on the Quaaludes. And then the last 2 episodes, it's just, man, it's just like, I guess, Charles, the best way to say it is like, what if somebody had like 20 pounds of slime, right? And you had to sit in the chair and watch something, and they just kept throwing slime on top of you. That's what it felt like watching We Need to Talk About Cosby. So I will lead that into my top 5. Give me 2 of yours, Charles, before we get into our top 5.
Before we get to the top 5?
Yeah, because you got 6. You just finished 7, so 6 to 5. Go ahead.
I had Fresh in there, which was a Sebastian Stan. In this story of I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it. It's about cannibalism, and it's an incredible movie. Sebastian Stan is, he's becoming one of what he's doing on this series with Pam and Tommy. He's showing the range. He's not just the Winter Soldier anymore. So it was an adventure. And then I think my next film would have been 892, which was a tale of a veteran going to rob a bank, and John Boyega playing the role of the veteran screwed by the system and feels like all he can do is hold up a bank.
Bruh, I hated that movie. I'm telling you, that movie made me upset in ways. I was heated after I watched that movie. So
I think that's the power of movies. If you have a guttural emotion, they did a good job.
All right. Coming in at number 4, since I just went to 5, my top 4, Laguerre Civil. Got to talk a little bit about that. I'll try to do it quick for time. Eva Longoria's documentary directorial debut tells a story which in theory, I had no idea about this fight, but when you watch it, it's absolutely genius the way she lays it out. God, what is his name?
Oscar De La Hoya and Julio Cesar Chavez.
Julio Cesar Chavez. So Julio Cesar Chavez is like, from the Mexican hero. He's like the Mexican icon. Won his first 89 fights before he took a loss, right? And along the way, even Oscar De La Hoya's family, who lives in South Central LA, they, part of that Mexican American community loves this man, right? But at the same time, they have a son that's coming up who is kind of like this hybrid. He's like westernized, but he's also Mexican, pretty boy, appeals to American values, but also wants to kind of bridge that gap. And how the community abhors, the Mexicans abhor Oscar de la Hoya. They like, which is really, it's shocking. It would almost be like if it was a person from Africa, from the continent of Africa, who came to America to fight Muhammad Ali, the most popular person here, who's also African-American, and the Africans can't stand him. You're not real African. That it was a fascinating story from Eva Longoria, and I think a powerful documentary. And it was the first film to kick off Sundance for me. So it established for me what I think the entire week was for us. Really good doc. When it comes on, please see that one. That would be my fourth choice. Charles, what say you? What's number 4 for you, bro?
Master.
Oh my God.
Master.
That's higher up on my list, but go ahead.
I'm gonna say that and let you talk about it when we get to it. I'm gonna just say Master. Go ahead.
Master's on your list. Coming to number 3, you've already kind of hit on it a little bit. I just thought Fresh was brilliant. I thought this story, Fresh is short for fresh meat, if that helps out at home. I did not see that story coming at all. I was like, yeah, Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, unhinged in Fresh. Charles already kind of tipped it off. That's my number 3 film, man. What about you, Charles?
Emergency.
Oh.
College kids going out for the night. And all of a sudden they find this white girl on the floor in their dorm room, and they got to figure out what to do with this white girl. So these 2 black brothers and 1 Hispanic brother and a white girl, and they got to figure out how to survive the night. It was unexpectedly entertaining and confrontational all at the same time. It was just, I would say, beauty. I enjoyed it totally.
All right, so was that your number 3?
That's number 3.
All right, number 2, Charles said it earlier, was Master for me. Master with Regina Hall is a dual story about a prestigious old kind of New England kind of university, very conservative. And she takes over as the first Black head mistress or first headmaster that they have at the school. And it's this whole thing with supernatural and horror and racism. I just thought that this thing was genius. And I believe that if this gets picked up by the right distribution, and I think it's supposed to drop on Hulu, if I'm not incorrect, in mid-March, I think, which I think is too early. I wish they would have put this film later in the year. Master is strong. I think, to me, and I will say this, I think Get Out is probably at the top of the food chain of those kinds of films. I think Master is a film. Now, it has some issues that don't necessarily come together in the way that I think they should, but for what Regina Hall does in that film and the other young lady with these dual stories, I thought Master was super, super strong. Charles, what say you at number 2?
I say Master again. Didn't have the layers like you said Jordan Peele's did, but it was very strong. And hopefully it'll be considered a movie, not a TV movie.
Right.
When they do it for Hulu. Actually, I have a problem because God's Country was my number 4. So I actually gave you my number 3 and number 2. So I'm at number 1. Do you want me to wait, or you want me to go ahead and give you my number 1?
Well, you can give me a number 1, man, because I just did 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can give me a number 1 because I got it. We have a different number 1 from each other, but I know where you're going with this. But go ahead.
My number 1, I said it going into it. It was ranked number 1 going in, and it came out number 1 going out. Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. Just a hilarious take on the Black mega church perspective, prosperity gospel, all of it. Uh, Regina Hall and why can't I think of
Sterling
my
K.
man?
Brown.
Sterling K. Brown, fantastic in these roles. Regina Hall is outstanding because she has so many layers. Sterling K. Brown is just over the top, I mean, enjoyable the whole time. And just it's a dark comedy, but it is strong on comedy. And I just being a preacher kid, growing up preachers, and just all the aspersions that they cast, I thought were delightful.
Well, you know what, man, out of respect for you, you notice I didn't even put it on my list because, you know, I already knew where you were with this, man. I love this movie too. I thought it was funny. I thought Regina Hall, who we talked about in Master, and this film, she probably, to me, was her and Dakota Johnson, I think, were the two people who I thought had the best Sundance, because both of them had two movies that I thought worked really, really well. But number one for me, which if Charles, if you talk to me, would be no surprise, the biggest surprise for me was a movie called You Won't Be Alone. And it starred Numi Rapace. And I'll just say it was a story of a witch who curses a mother's baby so that she can have a companion on Earth. And the mother takes the child to hide it because she didn't want the witch to take the child until the child is 16 years old. She puts the child in a cave and visits her every day and raises her that way. But at the age of 16, the senior witch or the older witch comes back and takes the child and tries to educate it in the ways of being evil, right? And the child rejects that notion and wants to embrace her humanism. And the whole story, because she's a shapeshifter as well, of how she shifts and shapes into multiple lives in order to learn how to be human. I thought it was shocking how good this movie was. First of all, it's a concept I would have never thought of. And then the fact that it was done with so much tenderness and humanity and love, well shot. Numi Rapace, I'm not going to spoil it. I told you she shapes and shifts. So pretty much, you know, she's a bunch of different people in this film. But You Won't Be Alone is the sort of movie, like every year there's about 3 or 4 movies that come out of Sundance that, you know, like years like Brooklyn or Birth of a Nation and some of these other films that can go deep into the calendar. This is the kind of movie, if they market it right, could go deep into the calendar as a really, really strong sort of a awards contender later this year. So that's my number one.
Never saw it, and I never saw it.
I love Charles. Never saw it. All right, Charles, we got about a minute to go before we get out of here. And I promised people at the beginning, it's Black History Month, so we have to do a spotlight. And the spotlight is on Robert Nesta Marley, aka Bob Marley, whose birthday, had he lived, he would have been 45, 55, 22. He'd have been 77, on February the 6th. Of course, singer, songwriter, musician, considered one of the pioneers of reggae. God, man, Marley did so much, man, in his life, man. It's just hard. You think of it, Charles, I'm saying that he'd been 77. He's been gone for 41 years, man. So he's been actually gone longer than he lived at this point. Bob Marley, man, fantastic artist. I will probably spend the weekend along with other stuff that we're doing. You've got some emails from me about this weekend, right?
No.
Oh yeah, we got work to do this weekend, man.
Okay.
We have some actors to talk to this weekend. So I've CC'd you on some of these. But yeah, so Bob Marley, amazing. One of my inspirations, man. Actually, when we talk about favorite artists, he's my 3rd favorite artist of all time behind Stevie Wonder. No, I'm sorry. Bob Marley is my 2nd favorite artist of all time, only behind Stevie Wonder and right ahead of Prince. Have you ever done your top 3? because I don't do a top 5. I have a top 3 list of
A
artists.
top three artists.
Yeah, of all time. So Stevie Wonder is my favorite. Bob Marley's number 2. Prince is number 3. You never.
No.
Yeah. You don't spend enough rumination time, man. This is what happens when you don't daydream enough. You don't have lists.
I can't. I love so much music, man. I don't know how I could put one of. I mean, yeah, there's something that could be up there, but
man. Go back and give it some thought, and we can come back and have this conversation again in a week.
okay.
All right, so that's episode 488. I hope we gave you some good Sundance information. There were a whole bunch of other movies, thank God we didn't mention, that didn't deserve to be mentioned. But as we tell you all the time, please see something good at the movies. Unfortunately, all the movies we talked about, you can't see any of them right now. But you'll thank us later. And Charles, on behalf of Charles Kirkland, brother, good job again. We will see you guys on the other side next time for more of The Big Show. You guys take care and enjoy your day. Peace, Charles.